it was an interesting Thursday night.
It was.
And you're right. It was going exactly as expected. I was talking to my wife and my son about this on Saturday night. It's like, if I had any desire to gamble, and I still don't know what the NBC policy is, because we got people who work for us and with us who just openly talk about all the bets they make.
Right.
And it's like, I saw that policy at one point. It's like, I don't think we should be making any bets based on this policy. Maybe there's some dispensation I don't know about, but I got no interest in doing it. I got no desire to do it. But, man, it would be easy to make a little money because we know, and most people know by the time you get to Thursday, if you're really locked in and paying attention to it, we were able to rattle off the first 4 picks. The only point it got interesting was pick 5. We didn't know what the Chargers were going to do. And it wasn't a surprise when they did what they did. And then the Giants did what, they should have done. And then the Titans did what they should have done. And then, boom, the Falcons throw everyone involved a curveball. Even though, and we did mention it on Thursday. We didn't spend a whole lot of time on it, but I went back and found it in the podcast. We talked about, I said that Michael Penix could be the oh shit moment of round 1. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I do.
And I mentioned the Falcons, and I said it would be stunning because of the presence of Kirk Cousins. We didn't really delve into it, but I mentioned 8 as the ceiling for Penix. But I wouldn't have expected it. I don't think anybody expected it. But they had been linked to him, and there had been a report. And see, you can't trust these reports that come out that they were going to host him in Atlanta. My understanding is they never did. They went to see him throw on air in a private workout.
Right. That's what they did.
That's it. But still, that apparently was enough to create this grand plan that we're going to take a guy who turns 24 next week. We're going to park him on the bench indefinitely. 6 weeks after, we gave $100 million fully guaranteed to Kirk Cousins, and it's going to be perfectly fine. And it's going to work out without a hitch, without a glitch, without a problem. Either it's genius or it is completely and totally nonsensical. And I've yet to hear anyone say anything to explain it in the aftermath of the selection to make me think that the Falcons are secret geniuses.
No, I can't. I'm definitely not going to take the genius side on that one, right? I don't think it's all bad, right? I mean, I will say that. It's a quarterback that they liked a whole lot, definitely. Yeah, right? And I'm not mad at
Cousins.
That, right?
Don't sign Gardner Minshew and then draft him.
Exactly right. I mean, why did we not delve into it and pick number 8 on Thursday? Because we thought it was batshit crazy, and we were like, what? Well, there's no point in wasting time on that. That's why. Nobody delved into it, right? I mean, nobody did. I mean, to your point, first off, here's the big thing. I think the one we know, the NFL assets are at a premium, right? We're at the ultimate assets NFL part of the history of the game more now than ever, right? With just the way the salary cap is, free agency, guys and teams players wanting to change teams all the time, right? I want a new contract. I want this. I want to trade here. Right? The draft itself, there's so many things going on. Assets are at a premium, right? The quarterback assets are at a premium. So first round picks are at a premium. They've wasted here in this offseason, a lot of assets on one position. That doesn't make sense in the world of you got to spread it out across your roster and build a football team. And that's where the first thing you go, wait, what? That doesn't make sense. The second thing that doesn't make sense, Mike, to what we're talking about is, like, we knew the Atlanta Falcons needed a new quarterback in when? November, to be fair, right? Early November, we're like, they're going to be in the quarterback hunt last year, right? All right. Also around that same time, we knew Michael Penix was going to be on the board at number 8. Like, really, right around then. Nobody was going, Michael Penix is going top 5 pick. Certainly when the NFL season ended and college football ended, nobody was going, oh, Michael Penix is top 5, and he fell out of that conversation. It was, he's a second rounder, he's older, he's got injury issues, where's he going to be? Him being this far up in the process to begin with was news to everybody just like 2 weeks ago, right? I mean, my man, you were texting me. I mean, I'm hearing Penix is going to go in the first half of the first round, no doubt about it, right? I was hearing the same thing, okay? Okay, but that was surprising. We knew he was going to be there at 8. They knew they needed a quarterback. You should have done due diligence work already before you even get to the free agency conversation with Kirk Cousins to already have an inkling of, wait, we love this guy. We're going to do this. We're at 8. Nobody thinks he's going that early. We're going to be fine. He's going to fall right to us. Let's not give Kirk Cousins $180 million. I think that's the first thing you look at to just go, why? How did this happen? And it doesn't make sense.
It does not make sense. And as we search for any flash, any indication, any hint of genius on the part of the Atlanta Falcons, here are some of the things that General Manager Terry Fontenot and head coach Raheem Morris had to say over the weekend in repeated press conferences where inevitably the Penix question came up. Have a listen.
It's nothing to do with the injury. I think if we were fortunate enough, we talked about it, to have Kurt for his 12-year career with us, we still be in that position thinking about potentially going to get our quarterback or going to get the quarterback for the future. And that's the nature of the beast, right? We were lucky enough to watch Matt Ryan play 14 years. I believe 13 of them with the Atlanta Falcons. And at some point, you got to find a way to have that succession plan in place. And just so happened it poses itself tonight.
If you believe in a quarterback, you have to take him. And if he sits for 4 or 5 years, that's a great problem to have because we're doing so well at that position. So it's just as simple as if you see a guy that you believe in at that position, you have to take him.
If you'd have told me in January that when we're sitting there and the quarterback, you weren't wondering who's going to be our quarterback next year, right? If you'd have told me at that time that we're going to have Kirk Cousins for right now and Michael Penix for the future, I would have told you it was a pipe dream. I would have told you that if you'd have told me that, I would have said, sign me up for that. This is exciting. We're very excited. It's the most important position in pro sports. It's the most important position in pro sports. And to feel this good about it right now, that we couldn't be more excited.
Well, and a lot of that has to do with the fact that at the time they would have been told they'd have both Michael Penix and Kirk Cousins. Their options were Desmond Ridder and Taylor Heineke. So, yeah, it sounds pretty good. It's not the question of amassing two great pieces in their estimation. It's the presence of those two pieces in the same locker room, on the same sideline, on the same team,
right?
And all the questions that it raises. Because I guarantee you this. If you had told Kirk Cousins back when you were enticing him to come to Atlanta that you're going to take Michael Penix Jr. with the 8th overall pick, Kirk Cousins would have stayed in Minnesota.
100%. 100, right? I mean, you're spot on, Mike. I mean, I think that's the next part of this, conversation is the unwanted, here we go, distraction in the first year of Raheem Morris. One, we talked about the assets and all of that, and right, the assets are so important to the franchise. Well, one of the biggest assets, a top 10 pick, you're telling me he's not going to be able to play for maybe 4 years? That's not the way football works. That's not a smart pick then either. Whoa, top 10 pick, great asset. It might not work for a few years. That's a waste of an asset. That is. Let alone you're in danger of wasting the asset of $180 million of the starting quarterback you're there. I mean, this is what I said to a few people on radio. Yeah, you got older white guy quarterback, right? I mean, he threw the ball on a tennis court. We've already made fun of him a little bit for his athletic ability and the lack thereof, right? And I'm having fun here, right? His arm is not famous for being a wow arm. It's a good arm, but it's not a wow arm. Now you're going to have a guy that's out there and, it's spring chicken, and we just saw him run, Michael Penix Jr. run 4.5 at his pro day, and his pecs and his shoulders look good, and anybody you talk to that watched him throw a football goes, it's as good as anybody I've ever seen ever, right? He gets thrown around with names people like when I watch him throw, it's like Josh Allen, it's Justin Herbert when people see him in person. That's how it pops off his hand, right? So that you're telling me that's a good thing as Kirk Cousins is kind of feeling his way? Like we always talk about. The second week of training camp, everybody's going to be like, Michael Penix is freaking throwing lasers everywhere. Yeah, Kirk looks good. He's smart. He's doing the right thing. But, Michael Penix, wow. And then you're going to tell me if they don't start off if they don't start off with a good record, if they start out 2-3, right, and the offense just looks okay, Like, duh, what did we think's going to happen there? I mean, the older, mature quarterback, the guy that maybe was the most ready to play of any of the guys that came out in the draft, we're going to, no, you're not ready yet. All these things, as you say them out loud, they don't make sense, and that's where I think the whole NFL world thinks the pick's crazy.
And I think that they would have been fine in the regular season playing at 1 o'clock Eastern. I think Cousins will do well with that team with all the weapons they have. The question is, what happens when you get to prime time and the playoffs? Because that's the narrative. It's baked in since 2014, 2015, when he first became a regular player in Washington with one playoff win for his entire career and not that many playoff appearances. But now you undermine his ability to do even that. I mean,
yeah, you do. You do.
Think about, and I think this helps explain the surprise that was articulated by his agent. And I think the way it happened on Thursday night, initially the agent is texting a bunch of people off the record and finally just decides, screw it, I'm going to come out and say it. That is how dismayed I think Kirk was, that he felt like collectively with the agent, we need to say what we're going to say here. Because instead of taking Michael Penix Jr., what they could have done, what they should have done, and what Kirk Cousins surely and fairly presumed they would have done was take a player that's going to help them win now.
Exactly.
That's going to help Kirk.
That was part
Kirk
of this.
Saying, I'm going to do everything in my power to deliver a championship to Atlanta. Oh, but the team isn't. I'm only here for 3 or 4 years, and they draft a guy who, if everything goes well, isn't going to play. How does that help me win a championship?
Exactly.
How does that help this organization finally exercise the demons of 28-3? It doesn't. It doesn't. This is worrying about the future while you still haven't even begun to experience the present. How do you call it a succession plan when the guy has never worn your helmet before? This isn't Brett Favre to Aaron Rodgers. This isn't Aaron Rodgers to Jordan Love. This is ridiculous. This is mid-level quarterback who shows flashes of top 5 to top 10 under the right circumstances, who maybe has a final act in him that will allow him to achieve something he's never achieved before, and you undermine him before he even goes under center the first time. It makes zero sense, and it strips the humanity completely out of the equation, because at the end of the day, you got a guy who is now pissed at you, and I can't wait to hear what he says. I can't wait to watch, study, listen to Kirk Cousins the first time he has to address what's happened and how he reconciles it with the promises that were made to him, directly and indirectly, explicitly and subtly, when they told him, you're a guy and we're going to win. We're all in to win. Oh, but don't worry about the 8th overall pick. We could have gotten Dallas Turner. We could have gotten Byron Murphy. We could have gotten somebody to help you win now, but we're going to bank a guy. And pay no attention to him. Don't worry about him. Don't look over your shoulder at him until you have to, until it's too late, until you're benched or traded or cut because the Michael Penix Jr. era arrived prematurely.
Yeah, it's odd. It's odd. Well, we talk about this a lot, right? I mean, great teams want their quarterback to be the general, the guy that's the commander of the ship. He leads that. Now they got two.
Sergeant General.
Yeah, Sergeant General. Exactly right. Right. So, now they got 2 of them in there, right? They got 2 guys that are kind of alpha male-ish, right? And then one, is, yes, a top 10 pick who been in the Heisman conversation, and everybody's been watching on Saturdays in college football, and he's been tearing it up, right? And what, you don't think like the young weapons of Atlanta won't want to be like, whoa, the future, Bijan Robinson, Drake London, Kyle Pitts, or wait, older, been there quarterback that right now only going to look like he's going to be here for 2 years and he's out of here, right? So already I got to start going, well, I like the other guy. I got to make sure I'm friends with the other guy because the guy we talked about trading jerseys and everything, he's not going to be here that long. I mean, it's odd. It's odd, let alone to your point there, a top 10 pick is one of the biggest assets you could acquire in all of football. if there was a worth, a dollar amount, whatever, it's like having the $1,000 bill. I mean, it's a special entity. It's a special thing. It's the type of thing that, like you're saying, hey, our team's pretty good. We need this one piece. Oh, wait, we got Byron Murphy now in the middle of our defense? Oh, shit, our defense is legit now. Like, no, now it's not that. And they try to make up with that with defensive picks, but yeah, I mean, to me, they've caused a problem here, and it's shocking. And I'll tell you this, Mike, from all due accounts, from what I've heard around the league, I think Raheem Morris welcomed this from what I know. I first, when this happened, I was like, man, Raheem Morris must be like, what? I need a defensive player. I need that. But I've heard from people around the league that he signed off on this. Like they saw him work out or something in the process, and they were blown away, and they said, we're going to do it. And then they approached ownership about the conversation, is what I've been led to believe so far in this process.
Which makes me wonder how much Raheem Morris really believes in Kirk Cousins. I think that's what I keep coming back to. This is an implicit, if not flat out, indictment of what they truly think they have in Kirk Cousins, and it invites fair questions as to why in the hell they made a 9-figure investment in a guy who now has a shelf life somewhere along the lines of a loaf of bread, right? The mold is going to show up potentially quickly, especially when you have a brand new loaf right out of the oven, top 10 pick that people may decide to clamor for. Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.